Hello, everyone, and welcome to Visibility Era, the podcast. We have Bridget here with us. I'm so excited. She is still on maternity leave, but wanted to come on and record the podcast, which I'm so grateful for because we got to catch up.
I know.
Bridget, how are you doing?
Doing well. We are moving and grooving. We're getting some sleep. Life is like, I was journaling about it yesterday. Life has completely changed, but then like not changed at all. It's so weird.
Tell me
So
about it.
weird. You just have this like new little thing that you have to like take care of all the time. But then you're still yourself, but then you're not yourself. It's very existential.
I am sure. So, yeah, I don't know. Do you want to share anything about your experience?
Oh gosh, I hadn't even thought about that. I'm happy
Yeah,
to share. I'm happy to share the story if people want to know. Is that too much?
I don't know. I mean, like I personally want to hear it. I like heard it, but I feel like I got snippets in text messages. So I actually haven't heard it from your mouth.
Wow. The baby was born
Okay.
December 29th, 2024. Wait, you know what's also really interesting?
Hmm.
I kept having this sense that December 28th was like going to be a day, like going to be some sort of like important day. My due date was like January 8th, but I was like, I do not feel connected to 2025 and this baby coming in 2025.
Mm-mm.
Like the whole
Knew the
time I
baby
was
was
like,
coming. Yeah.
no, like, and I started having, I don't know, just like weird intuitive things prior in like early December where I was like, I need to finish a billion things. I need to like stop work earlier than I planned. Like, I think you and I had planned to do more later on. And I planned to teach yoga still. And I couldn't do it. I also couldn't move. So, there was that too.
The most ambitious person I know. You were like, all right, so we're going to schedule our calls with our clients like in late December, right before Christmas. I was like, there's literally no way. Meanwhile, I feel like in December, we both were on the struggle bus because like I had the flu for literally like
Yeah.
2 weeks. And
Yes.
you had taken a call, and I felt so bad because I knew that you were in pain. And I was texting you. I literally woke up after not being able to sleep all night. I was like drenched in sweat, but
And you were
also
traveling.
freezing. Yeah, I was traveling and I had like just a bad fever. It was like when everything hit the night before the call. And I woke up in the morning and I remember like barely being able to text you. And I was like, I can try my best to be there. And I was like, maybe if I just sit up in bed on the call, like I don't have to do much. I just have to turn it on. And I was like, I can't even keep my eyes open.
Oh, this is where like having both of us. I mean, I could go on and on about that forever too. Like having two of us has been a game
Amazing.
changer.
Yeah.
Amazing. Or if someone has like their own business and they have a really supportive like team member, like I just don't think we're supposed to do these things alone. And thank God we don't have to do it alone. So yeah, early December, you and I were both like tired. Remember I couldn't walk from that
Yeah.
sciatica
Can you please
flare?
explain this? So,
I literally, the whole pregnancy, I had this like pain in my right glute. I just thought I had like a sore muscle. I was still like working out the entire time, of course. And then like early December, it was like December 8th, I could not walk. I was in excruciating pain, calling the midwives, bawling my eyes out. Eric had to like stay home from work. Oh, he was supposed to go away actually. He was supposed to go away for a men's weekend in Florida. And he didn't go because I
right.
couldn't move.
My God. You texted me and you were like, I'm physically crawling. And I was like,
Crawling,
okay.
crawling on the floor. It was so humbling. And I have this like sense that I feel like my transition to motherhood hasn't been as hard because I've been humbled like this entire pregnancy
Yeah.
and like right up into it. Ever like so many times. Like even just like finding out I was pregnant, I've shared that. I was like, "What?" I was shocked, even though we were trying. Long story, but it's just everything was preparing me for this, and it feels like it's been a more easy transition because of that. Like I was so humbled by crawling on the floor. I was praying to God. I was like, "Dear God, please help me right now."
Oh. I mean, that's a really interesting point because I do, now that I'm reflecting on like the other women in my life that have recently had kids, maybe they're on their second one, they had like a pretty, honestly, for the most part, most of my friends had like a very decent pregnancy where they were like, I love my bump, like going out, enjoying life. And then it was like a rude awakening when the baby came and everything shifted and they were like, oh my God, what? So yeah, maybe in some wacko way, it was like seriously preparing you where it's like, actually, it'll be easier. I mean, not
Yeah.
easier, but like you're to a point where you're like, okay, like I'm ready for this mentally.
Yeah. I truly think that because like I didn't love being pregnant. I'm fine saying that.
Yeah,
Um, because not everyone does. Like the child is such a blessing. He's so cute and I love him so
he's
much.
so cute.
He's like so, so cute. And I'm totally that person who now takes photos of their child all the
As
time
you
and
should.
sends them to everyone and has printed photo books at 2 a.m. I literally printed a photo book at 2 a.m. Like two photo books. I spent like $100 on these like shitty Google Photos photo books. But I just was so happy about it.
You're like, this is what I spend my money on now. Maybe back in the day it was some fashion, some Amazon fashion, but now we're moving on.
Photo books. And now I keep getting all the ads for chat books. So
Nice.
yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's all was preparing me for it. And back to the December 28th date, I
Oh
kept
yeah.
having that come into my mind. And that day, I went, first of all, our dog is like a cuddler, but not a cuddler at all. And that day I was laying on the ground doing what's called like the Miles circuit. Have you heard of it?
No.
It's like these postures to like help induce labor. You like lay on the floor in like you put like your chest on the floor and your like knees on the ground, kind of like okay. In yoga, it's called anahatasana, where you like a heart melting pose where you put your
Yeah,
like
your chest is on the floor, but you're like butts in the air.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like kind
Okay.
of like that. And then just like you walk up the stairs and you do like different like things for your pelvis. And I was laying down in this like side lying position. The dog like was laying on me. And the dog like he just doesn't do that. Like we cuddle, but like not like that. And I just felt it was different. And that was December 28th. And we went to my parents for dinner. And my mom always joked that she went into labor after she had lamb at her parents' house with my brother. And that night she made lamb. And it was not even good. The lamb wasn't
It
good.
was,
The whole family agreed. It was shitty.
I was like, does your mom know? And it was not even good.
It was
That's
not even good.
interesting.
No.
I wonder if there's something in lamb that like gets things moving. Is this
I
like
have
an old wives' tale?
I have no idea. I'll have to look it up, but that whole time I was there, I just like was feeling really, really odd, like kind of crampy.
Yeah.
And I went to the bathroom. Wait, and you know what your mucus plug is?
Why don't I? This is why women are like have a full-blown existential crisis when they get pregnant. No one talks about any of this. What is that? I don't know. I'm a woman in my
Right?
elder years.
No, it's really
What is that?
interesting. There's like a plug of like mucus that like is a barrier between, I think I'm not gonna do the anatomy right, but it's like what's holding everything from your water sac to your like uterus. Like it's kind of this plug of mucus literally that's like stopping everything from getting into the baby. Like it's a protective barrier basically.
Okay.
And as you start to go into labor, you start to lose like pieces of this mucus plug because it starts to like release itself so that labor can start so the baby can like come through like the pelvis and the birth canal basically. It's like really wild, all this stuff. So, and I'd been like losing like little pieces of it. This is so TMI and I love that we're talking about it. Like it's so gross and so cool.
Yeah, but
And
it's
that
like every single person that is born, this is what happened.
yeah, and no one
We are
talks about
here
it.
because
But
of this.
hi,
Yeah.
here we are. And that night I went to the bathroom while I'm at my parents' house and like more of it came out and I'm so disgusting. I came out, I had it on a tissue and I was like, Mom, Hallie, look. And they were like, what is that? I wanted to share it with them and I took pictures of it. Like I just wanted to document the moment. And I was like, look, like it could be a sign of labor, but it also might not be because everything's a sign of labor
You're
and
such a
nothing.
little scientist too, which is funny. You
Right.
probably were like, "Oh, amazing. So
Yeah.
interesting. Do
Yeah.
research on this."
I know I'm definitely very nerdy about all this stuff. Then that happened, and then that night, December 28th, I got home and my water broke, and that
Uh,
was the start of my labor. Ta-da-da!
so if anybody wants to go into labor, you just need to eat some lamb apparently, and it makes it work.
Lamb, lamb, yeah, like, and it's so interesting reflecting back because I felt like this was right after Christmas, so like we had seen all of our family members, like I'd spent time with everyone. It was like the baby waited to like have all of those things completed
Yeah.
and then was like ready to start.
Wow. And honestly, okay, so I feel like there's like good and bad to everything, but when my sister had my nephew, it was in the summertime and she was so upset because she was like, I have to be inside with him like every single day, like day in and day out. I can like barely go outside. Because I mean, she was very by the book, but she was sharing that like you're not supposed to take them outside to like see this. I don't have no idea. Maybe it was something about their eyes. I have no
Maybe
idea.
like the jaundice kind of thing.
No, it wasn't having to do with jaundice. It was something about like them like waiting a certain month until or a certain week until they should really be outside in sunlight. Very by the book. If she listens to this, she'll probably get annoyed with me.
You can tell us what it truly was because I have
Yeah,
no idea. I've
she could
never
tell
heard
us what
that.
it truly was.
Yeah.
But anyways, she was really upset that she was inside all the time. And honestly, like maybe you can go out for walks, but you are inside because you have to change the diapers, you have to like do all the things, you have all this stuff inside. You're not gonna like, yeah. So anyway, um, I feel like it might be like perfect time. I mean, it feels like perfect time where you can kind of like hibernate for
Yeah.
now and just like be cozy inside while you have to have all of those things with you. And so by summertime, when he's like super ready to be outside and held by everybody and just like be like a cute little, oh my God, he's gonna be like 8 months old,
Yeah.
like in
That's
like peak
wild.
summer. Hmm.
Can't wait. Honestly, I was very happy to be pregnant in the winter because you do have that cozying effect. Whereas like
Yes.
Elena was pregnant midsummer. I mean, I'm a summer baby. I'm born in August. Like you're June. So like our mothers were pregnant in like the heat of the summer. And those last couple of weeks, that was really hard. Like
Yeah.
I didn't realize that the end of your pregnancy is very, very challenging. Like you are uncomfortable.
Yep, yep. Speaking of, I had a client that came through you, which now we're doing like a hybrid VOP slash PR thing. But anyway, she was like, yeah, like I really want to like do PR. I'm giving birth in July, so I'm thinking we'll just do it right on up to then. And I was like, no.
Yeah.
Because I don't think anyone realizes, like you said, I've watched you, I've watched my sister, I've watched my sister-in-law, I've watched two of my best friends. The last month, you were just like, literally, get this thing out of me. I just am over it. Even if you love being pregnant, the last month, you're just swollen.
Yeah.
My sister's feet were crazy looking. They were so swollen. It looked like Play-Doh foot. Or like honestly, you know what it looked like? It looked like if you took one of those gloves, like those
Oh my
latex
God, the
gloves, and you
Mickey
just like
Mouse,
blew it
like,
up.
yeah.
That's what her foot looked like. Crazy.
I have a whole new level of respect for like women, my mom, like
Yeah.
Eric's mother, just like, and then people do this a lot. Like people do this if you're the Duggars, 19
Uh-huh.
kids and counting. Like I cannot imagine that, but I do get why people
Yep.
do it again. I do. Like now that I look at him, I'm like, oh my God, like we need more of you. Like you're
Yeah.
so cute. But it is like you do forget the challenge of it. I mean, it is true, it's definitely there, but you forget the intensity of the challenge when you
Yeah.
see the love for the kid.
Were you the one that was telling me there's like some chemical reaction where you literally get like dopamine and like obsessed with your baby in postpartum?
There is like the oxytocin that you
Yes.
get, which is like the happy, like kind of hormone. And that also is what stimulates like breastfeeding. So you have
Wow.
the prolactin and the oxytocin, which is like the love hormone. So it's like, I love you. And then the prolactin is like, I need to take care of you. So it like helps to stimulate the milk.
Literally a scientist. I promise you, nobody would be like, oh, okay. Like, would,
And after you give birth, you do have like that surge of like oxytocin, but then your hormones dip like
yeah.
a couple days after. And some people really struggle. Like I didn't really feel mentally super off, although I did cry my eyes out because Eric and I spelled his name wrong on the birth certificate. Did I tell you the story?
No. How did you spell it?
Okay, you know me. I'm an Irish gal. I've been writing down baby names since I was 8 years old. I've known, since I was young. And Eric doesn't know how the spelling of these names are. So we left the birthing center without a name because it was like 5 a.m. I'd been in labor for 24 hours. We didn't want to think about a name at that point, and we knew we had a little bit of time. And the next day, Eric is the one who wrote it on the paper. We were like, well, let's name him Aiden. Um, and Eric is the one who spelled his name, which is a proper spelling. It's just not how I wanted to spell it. And I signed off of it on it. Like I was really out of it. And or we don't need to talk about the my little postpartum bladder issues. But I was getting a catheter in at that point, and I wasn't really fully, aware. So I signed off on the name, and the next day I was like, fuck Eric, I think we spelled his name wrong. And like everything had already gone into like the registrar for the social security number. And I was like, no. And then so I was like, okay, maybe I can deal with it. But it kept eating at me. So dramatic. And then my Nana texted me and was like, Aiden is so cute. Aidan. And I was like, we gotta change his name. I broke down crying. And then Eric changed his name
Nice.
legally, the spelling of it.
Nice. Thanks, Eric.
Thanks.
That would be a
So,
no for me, dog. So interesting. This past weekend, I was with this woman who told me that her mom named her Karen Lane or something, or Karen Lee, and then ended up changing her name to Carrie Lane. And
mm,
because she had a dream 2 nights later that that was
yeah.
her name, and she was like, "Oh my God, I like made my child's name wrong. Like, what
Yeah.
did I do? I like named her wrong." So she went in and totally changed her name. And she's like, "Yeah, I was almost a Karen Imagine."
Thank God. Thank
Thank
God I
God
wasn't
she's such a
Karen.
Carrie, though. She doesn't look like a Karen at all. Some people just look like their name.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so interesting. And I think it's more common than because I panicked. I was like, is this going to be a pain in the ass to change someone's name? Because it is
Yeah,
if you're an adult, but I think it depends on the state, but they do give you like a 6 month like grace period because I think
this
parents do
happens.
change. Yeah, like this is not uncommon. I mean, my mom was born Bernadette Tara and they changed it to Tara Bernadette a couple of days later. Like
Whoa.
my nana was Mary Catherine and they changed her name to Maureen.
Huh.
Yes, everyone in my family, my aunt was Joan, but she changed her name to Siobhan. Like everyone has changed their name in my family, so we just thought of it as a joke now.
Yeah, yeah. You're like, his name was Aiden, but then we changed it to Aiden.
Huge change, we know, we know.
Big change,
Oh.
had to move it around.
Yeah, so wild. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, you've seen a lot of people like go through like pregnancy and like labor. Like, what are your thoughts on it just as the observer? Because you've witnessed a lot of people.
I feel like just with the past like 3 years of my life and so many people giving birth around me, it kind of prepared me for our
Mm.
relationship during this time. Like
Yeah.
so many people had checked in and they're like, "How are you doing? How are things going?" Like thinking I'm gonna tell them something negative, and I'm just like, I'm so happy for her and like things are fine. Like, and so I think I had mentally prepared myself, and then you also were like kind of, I don't know how you did it, but you were just like acting like yourself up until December, basically.
Yeah.
So you were there and you were fine, for me. And we both had also, I think, done a really good job of preparing our business to be kind of more self-sustaining. Like we had moved over to the downloadable course instead of us like delivering it live. We re-recorded everything. Then we had a mastermind and we moved it into back to single download, with us doing sessions with our clients, which I think is the best move.
Yeah.
Speaking of, we've been having a lot of conversations about how we think like one-on-one has been really supportive for our clients because our zone of genius, of course, our course like has everything so broken down, but I think when you're able to speak to a person just for a period of time about like what you're going through as you're going through these questions or as you're going through this lesson is so supportive because you get to speak out loud. And I think sometimes when we're in our heads or even like I guess like writing on paper is great too, but in our heads and we're not saying it out loud, we're not having that awareness of like, oh, it's not actually about this, it's about this, and this is what I want to share with the world. So it's been interesting that transition, but back to your question, just went on a tangent of like how this has been for me. Everyone has their own experience. And so I think the only like takeaway I've had, even for myself, thinking about if I want this, and the plan is to eventually want this, um, is understanding that I need to surrender because everyone's experience is unique. And that's kind of scary, to be
It is
honest.
really scary. I think
Yeah.
that's why it's the most like transformational thing, but it's not something to be scared of. Like I think I was scared to like lose myself or who I thought I was as this like super scheduled, regimented, like connected to my work, connecting, and I've talked about this so many times, connecting my worth to my work, which was
Yeah.
unhealthy thing. Like honestly, all of the changes that have occurred have been extremely positive. And I could have never imagined that because in my mind, like all of my fears around pregnancy, birth, having a child were, that everything was gonna like basically turn to shit. Like that was my thought, It was like I was gonna
Yeah.
lose everything. I was gonna lose my body. I was gonna lose like my time. And like that's all a lie. So it's like our fears related to something aren't even a fear. And one of my other fears was like, oh, my relationship with Eric is gonna suffer. And honestly, if anything, it's brought us closer together. Like we are so
Mhm.
excited to go on a date in a couple weeks for Valentine's Day and his birthday, which is like we're so excited. And like the baby's gonna be with someone else,
Where are
and
you gonna
we're so
go?
happy to do that. I don't know. We have our favorite restaurant in Montclair. It's called Samba. It might be a
Ooh.
little far because it's like 40 minutes. So we're like, I'm breastfeeding.
What kind of
Your
food is
boobs
it?
start tingling. It is delicious. It's like Portuguese Brazilian, totally gluten-free. Not that we're gluten-free, but just like
Love the option.
it's fun and it's delicious.
Oh my God, it's
It's
so
so good.
pretty.
It's gorgeous. You would love it. You would love it. It's so good. Highly recommend Samba if you're listening to the podcast. I am endorsing you currently.
I'll upload a picture of it so everyone can see what it
Yeah,
looks
yeah, yeah.
like.
We need to see it. We
I
need to
feel
see it
like
on
it's like
YouTube.
Joe Rogan when he has Jamie like put up
Yeah.
videos and pictures.
I was
I'm
like,
like the
Jamie. And Jamie's so fast.
Yeah,
Like,
okay. I think about this often. I am like, how does he get things up in warp speed? Like, do we think they
is
like
there a
cut it
delay?
up?
Maybe. There's
There
got
has
to
to
be.
there has to be a delay. There's literally no way because within literal seconds, Jamie's like,
Yep.
and I'm like,
Wild.
anyways, for those that are listening, I shall explain. We have mahogany wood floors. We've got beautiful tables. We've got gold picture frames on the walls. Looks like the ceiling has like a gold and green like almost like sponge art. Not sponge art. It's
Mhm.
classy. It looks like if Versailles went to Spain and then made it modern. That's where I'm at.
You need
And
to
then
do the
greenery.
description. Oh, the greenery. That's my favorite
Yeah.
thing. Like they have
And everyone can
a
see.
lot of like pothos, I think what it is. I have a bunch
Yes.
of those, like the kind of viney ones that hang down. Those do
Mhm.
really well in my house. I tend to not kill them. And there's a bunch of them just like kind of like strewn about. And it's a really, really small restaurant. Like it's
It looks
intimate, you
intimate.
know?
Yeah.
We actually went there the day before our last date before the baby came too.
Yeah.
That's where we went the day before I
Wait,
went
this
to
is
labor.
so funny. So tonight, me and Spencer want to go on a date night. We have not been on a date in forever.
Time for you guys to
It's,
date.
it's funny because I feel like I'm dramatic in that I'm like, we're never dating. But we have such busy lives. Like I have no idea how things are going to be when we end up getting to like the family stage, but he's a flight attendant, so he's gone most of the week. So I'm by myself in the house. Then on the weekends, we're trying to just like catch up on life. Like,
Mm,
well, his family will want to hang out, which like makes sense, which is funny because like when we moved, and not, I do not mean this in a bad way, but when we moved, I was like, finally, I'll get some time because my family loves to hang out. And I love hanging out with my family. It's this weird balance of like I am obsessed with them and at the same time I like need space. Like
yeah.
especially when you're working all week and you're like, okay, I just want to like freely go about my life. And then it's like Sunday sauce and you gotta
Yeah.
go you
Yeah.
gotta go to the house. And it's like, okay, well, Sunday's out, which means that I have Saturday. And like Saturday, I need to be able to enjoy my life, hang out with my friends, clean the house, go grocery shop. It's just like it's not possible.
Yeah.
So, anyway, you know, life is a balance. It's hard to figure out when to squeeze these things in. But yeah, so we're busy people. we're always traveling now to go home and see my family. So it's been a lot. It's been a lot to figure out that balance. I'm still trying to figure it out. But yeah, with the holidays and then just catching up in January, we have not had a like date night. Like this past weekend on Sunday, or was it? It was Saturday. Saturday morning, he woke me up at 8 and was like, let's go check the waves. And I was like, what? And he's like, let's go see the waves. And I was like, I don't want to go. And then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go. I know I'm gonna get like a dopamine hit from looking at the ocean. So
Of course.
anyway, of course. So dramatic because it's been like 60 degrees, which in Florida, if you're used to 85, it feels like it's like 30 degrees. So I had like a
You're like, where's
sweatshirt
my
on.
parka?
Oh, I put my Ugg boots on. I
Those
had
shouldn't even
layers.
exist in Florida.
I mean, I've got the boots. I brought them down. I honestly thought about it the last time I was home. I was like, I should just leave these at my mom's. It's like silly. I have these here. I wear them once a year. But anyway, what we went to the beach and I was like, I love this. We like walked around the
Mm.
beach and like then we went to a coffee shop that just opened and I was like so happy. I didn't even realize I was doing it. He's like, Lydia, what are you doing? I was loudly singing along the coffee shop. It was like a song by The Cure or something. And maybe it was like Boys Don't Cry. I don't even know. But I was like, Boys Don't Cry, just like drinking my coffee, like literally unaware I was doing this. He's like,
Everyone's
what?
like, thanks for the performance. We didn't know there's live music here too.
Yep, yep. He's like, what are you doing? I was like, what do you mean? I was just
Where are you guys
vibing.
gonna go for dinner?
Um, so I think as you're talking about like this intimate space, there's this restaurant called The Grove that's really pretty. It's
Mm.
very like modern, a little bit colder of a vibe than this one, which is like more
Mhm.
cozy.
Mhm.
But the food is incredible. Last time we were there, our server was like telling us all about, we went there for Spencer's birthday last year, funny enough. He was telling us all about how like the owners are these like nerdy culinary guys that graduated from this
Mm.
like big school and they love being creative with their dishes and everything is really thought out or whatever. I don't know if it was like I think it was like a newer restaurant at the time and they were just like really like hyped on it. But anyways, I was fully sold. I was like, every little detail has been thought of and everything was delicious. So maybe we'll go there tonight. But it's also season. I don't know if we'll be able to get in. I'll have to see.
Oh yeah, I always forget about that kind of thing. Like people
Yeah.
are going to Florida right now.
It is so weird because like I had to deal with that in Asbury when I was home in the summertime. Like in the summer, if you don't make a reservation, like you don't get dinner.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's the same
What
as
the
here.
world?
It's like either you don't get dinner or you're eating at 9 p.m.
Oh, which is a travesty. Can't do that. I'll be in
Yeah.
bed.
Yeah, I mean, you will definitely be in bed. So yeah,
Yeah.
maybe I'll go at 5 when people like normally do not go to dinner.
Oh yeah. We're
You
out by
know?
like 4 o'clock, you know?
Yeah,
Now we're thinking
4:30.
like, okay, where could we are not the people who are guarding ourselves inside for months on end. Like that's not who I am. We've gone to Trader Joe's, Costco, Gap, out and about, walks in really cold weather because we're taking a page out of the Scandinavians books. And by the way, babies sleep really well in the cold on a walk.
I mean, it
Why
makes
not?
sense because like if you give me a bunch of blankets, but I've got like
Yeah,
a little chill, there
yeah,
has to be something with that, some sort of science with
yeah,
that.
yeah,
I sleep like a baby
definitely.
too, literally.
And he's sleeping like a champ. So now we're like, okay, could we go out for dinner and bring the baby? Like, are we
Try it.
confident
Yeah.
enough? So we're like, if we went at like 4 p.m., maybe got a booth, because I am breastfeeding, which is like, okay, one thing people don't talk about is like your boobs start like tingling with these like letdowns, and it feels like pins and needles in your boobs. Have you heard
I
about
didn't
that?
know that, but I did know it hurts. Like people will say like, "Oh my God, I need to breastfeed. It hurts so
Yeah.
bad."
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it hurts. Like that would be like the engorgement if you wait too long.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I just thought like, I don't know, you feed the kid a couple times on your schedule. Like
Well,
I was
yeah.
so blind to everything, which I'm so glad I was. Um, because now I just like have figured it out. But yeah, it's supply and demand. So if you like go too long between a feed, your boobs get like engorged and it can cause mastitis, which is like you can get like a fever. It can be like a very like
Yep.
serious thing. But when the letdown happens of like your milk, it feels like pins and needles in your boobs.
That's so
And you're like,
crazy.
what? Well, I guess it's time. Guess
Wow.
it's time to feed this little creature, little
Wow.
gremlin. That's what they look like on your boob. They go like this. Everyone, please go to YouTube right now because this is what they look like. I'm not even kidding.
Their eyes are closed and they're just like coming at you scary.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
I'm like, they don't have teeth yet. It's terrifying.
Well, you're like, well, this is a new experience.
Yeah, yeah. Like boobs are not inherently sexual, guys. Like I don't know. They're
They're
really,
also a tool.
they're You guys have human design? I got my boobs.
Tool. Tell us about the month of January.
Oh, yeah, it's almost over.
It's almost over, and also Aiden looks so different. I texted you that yesterday. I'm like, oh my God,
You
he
know,
looks
they
really
changed.
different. They change so much. Like
Yeah.
I was gone for, I didn't go home to New Jersey for like 3 months, and my nephew got a full set of teeth in that
Oh
time.
my God.
I was like, what happened to like the two on top, two on the bottom? He's like a full set. Like,
He's like,
I was like, ah! Saw him and I was like,
my gosh. Well, he was born December 29th, so those like first initial days, the babies just sleep a lot. So like
mhm.
that wasn't that hard taking care of him. I also had like my own like bladder health issues. We were back and forth to doctors, hospitals, neurologist or urologists, not a neurologist, urologists, like midwives. It was a little hectic. It was a little traumatic, but my labor and birth itself, totally fine, totally natural. I'd do it again. It was crazy. I screamed a lot. I was not quiet. Felt like I loved it. I would do it again immediately. Um, but that week after, that first week was really rough with my health. I needed help to the bathroom. Like I couldn't, I struggled again. So talk about being humbled again, like praying to God. Here I am, about to go to a non-denominational church. Eric and I are going to start going to church because we were like so humbled, literally so humbled, crying our eyes out. And I think people should know about these experiences.
Yeah.
And it was such a polarity because it was such a beautiful experience and hard at the same time. So all of that. And then our last couple of weeks have just been like figuring our life out. Thank God, Eric, because he was able to, well, he had 12 weeks unpaid. So he took like he's taken like 5 weeks so far. Um, and thank God we saved money and like prepared ourselves so we don't feel like we're fine. But yeah, just kind of like figuring things out. And each day is
Wow.
like a new adventure. And you don't know what day it is, also. Like, because you don't have
No.
any, unless you have like an appointment. Like, we went to the pediatrician yesterday, but you don't really know what day it is. Every day is just a day.
Not to say that this is the same because it's definitely not. But do you remember like in do you remember in the summertime when you had summer off? Excuse me. After school, you would just like every day you were like, I
Yeah.
don't even know what day it is, like when
Yeah.
you were a kid.
I love that. And it is
Yeah.
kind of fun because you're like, yeah, like days don't matter. And you do get the perspective of like, yeah, what does matter? Like
Mm,
when I was having those health issues, it was like all that mattered was my health, my family, like my relationships. It was so basic, which was
yeah.
so beautiful. Like I felt really beautifully disconnected. And I told you this yesterday, because you and I in our human design charts have like the open, is it the will center? What is the actual center?
Yeah, I think that's right.
So we've always had the conversation of like, yeah, struggling with our like self-worth. And I said to you yesterday, like one of the greatest things that's happened to me is like I feel so beautifully disconnected from work that
Yeah.
like I do not feel like that is my worth at all. Like I feel rejuvenated on like kind of who I am, but just I'm just like taking care of a baby and like that's so magical. Like that's so enough. I'm
Yeah.
taking care of myself and a baby and that's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's I don't think people realize until you're going through it, women, men, everybody, like how much of an identity shift happens. Like it was so interesting. I was at a networking event last night and there was this woman. She was very sweet. Her name was Trudy. We chatted. Trudy. But she was like, I don't even know why I'm here. Can I sit with you ladies? So I'm like, sure. She was in her like mid 40s, maybe like upper 40s. And so she sat with me and my friend at this networking event and we like chatted with her and she's like, I'm just in a season of saying yes. And I was like, that's
Yeah.
beautiful. Good for you. She said that like one of the women at school, I guess like one of the parents of the kids told her that she should go to this event.
Mm.
And she's like, my kids are teenagers. Like, I'm just trying to like get my like workflow back, life back. Like, I don't even know what I'm doing. And I just am like open because like I want
Mm.
new to come into my
Yeah.
life. And she was just like talking about how she was from Canada. She had like the cutest little accent,
Mm.
but she was talking about how she moved down here with her husband that is Floridian. And so it took her a long time to make friends. And when she got some friends and she had kids and it was like super
Mm.
lonely, like, or actually, no, she didn't have friends until I guess like the kids started going to school. She said it was just like really
Mm.
lonely during that time.
So hard.
Yeah. And it was just like really interesting to like hear because I think like, everyone's always going through their own experience or
Yeah.
something, but it, having a family and then also like working and like the way that we live now is so different from the way that our parents lived. And even then it was, I mean, it was hard then, but now having like work and it's just like, how do we balance it? Like, what do we, yeah, I don't even know where I'm going with this, but
No, I
where I
hear
guess where I'm going is just like, it's a personal experience of like what feels good to you. Cause like I know for some people in my life that have had kids, like it's been a saving grace for them to go back to work because they feel like they have like a sense of self and
Yeah.
separation that way. Whereas I've had some friends that are like, I just want to be a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
Like this is all I want to do. I'm obsessed.
Yeah.
I want to like literally have 100 children and just do this. I'm
Yeah.
like, wow,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like I enjoy having like these kind of touch points with you because it allows me to still like I tend to be a 0 to 100 kind of person and sometimes it's unhealthy. So I wanted to have some like connection back to something, even if I wasn't like I'm not currently checking our emails. Like Lydia's running the ship, God bless her soul, and I'm so deeply, deeply grateful for her. But even just like talking to you feels good. Just kind of hearing updates from you is helpful. Just so I, yeah, have some pulse of it, but I still have my own time to go through whatever it is. Because I've had that same thought. I'm like, do I just want to be a stay-at-home mom? Like, do I just want to like take care of these like little children? And I've talked to people too had careers and they're like, the cost of childcare is so high. So we did the
Yeah.
math. Doesn't even make sense for me to work and then send the kid, have someone else raise the kid. So yeah, I think it is definitely a different time and everyone's going to have their own experience, like you said, and no right or wrong. But it is, I would say that's not scary, but to have those thoughts of me being like, wow, what if I was just a stay-at-home mom? Like,
Mhm.
just, I say it like that. That's not true. But even to have that come through my mind is
Mhm.
a little challenging to grapple with because that's hard. That's
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah. And I mean, my best friend, she works twice a week and she has two kids, and that's what she does
Yeah.
because it doesn't make sense. I mean, it costs thousands of
Mhm.
dollars. Like, I
Thousands.
think like 2 grand for your kids to go to a daycare every single day.
Yep.
So, if you're making more than that, like significantly more, and you really enjoy work, it makes sense.
Yep.
But if you're like not making that much more and you're doing the math and you're like, I also have to like do X, Y, and Z. I mean,
Yeah.
it's also kind of it's convenient, of course, because you're like able to work throughout the day, but it is inconvenient too. So like
Yeah.
things that I've heard from like even, my siblings that have kids, they're like, okay, well, we need to make sure that our kids have their like lunch and then we need to drive them there every day. And if they're sick, which is like once a month, you got to go pick them
Yeah.
up. If they have a fever, you have to go pick them up. So you have to like stop your life, go get them.
Right.
And if they're out, you're still paying for those days.
Right.
So like if they're out for a week, if they're sick, it doesn't matter. You're still paying for those days. So it's just like definitely a pros and cons list. Actually, this is wild. You should watch this show. I've been watching Younger on Netflix and I watched it years ago on TV and
I've
it's
never
now on
heard of it.
Netflix. It was like I guess, is it a sitcom? I have no idea. I have no idea. It's a very light show. It's a
Okay, I love that. I
light
need
show,
that.
20-minute episodes. I feel like you'd love it, but it's about a mom that is in her 40s. She's going through a divorce, but she's basically realizes that she can't get back into the workforce because she had like a 15-year gap and she wants to get back
Um,
into the workforce. Nobody
yeah.
will hire her because she either has too much experience or she has the gap or whatever. So she pretends to be 26 years old to get back into
Mm.
publishing. She works for this like big like publishing. She works for like as a executive
Mhm.
assistant for this like big publishing head. And the whole time she like it's like it just keeps snowballing. Like she ends up like meeting friends and then she meets like a boyfriend. So everybody thinks she's 26, but she
Oh,
has yeah, so it's just really interesting because it's like I never watched the show to a point where everybody found out. I'm sure everyone's gonna find out at some point. But it is true. It's like how do you get back into that if you want to?
yeah. Yeah, that's wow. That's deep too.
Yeah.
So as of right now,
Jeep.
I don't even have the answers, and I think
No
I
one
want
has the
into
answers.
that.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is where like I'll just come back to like my gratitude for you and just we've always had like an open relationship. We always had an open
We
relationship,
always had
so
an
it's just
open
like
relationship.
great. Open communication in our relationship. So, these things like were talked about. And I think I even said, I was like, I don't even know how long I'll need. I was like, maybe after like 6 weeks we can like reevaluate like where we're at. Because there was always been that part of me of like guilt because I don't want Lydia doing everything. So yeah, it is a balance, it is a dance, and we're all just trying to figure it out.
Hmm. We're all
All
trying to
just trying to
figure it
figure
out. I mean, you have the skills of also being an entrepreneur. So no matter what you choose, you have so
Yeah,
many more options than a lot of people do,
it's so true.
which
Thanks,
is nice.
Mom. Oh, that's
You're welcome.
so
It's so
sweet.
true though. And you have a million skills. Like no matter what, you'll be fine if you wanted to take pauses or go back to work or do this or do that.
Oh.
Whatever you want to do, it's you have a lot of, yeah, things at your fingertips.
Um, we'll talk about it next time because I have to go pick up something on
Yeah.
Facebook Marketplace. You know those reels where it's like my wife made me pick up a $2 item on Facebook Marketplace and like now I'm like sitting in a Walmart parking lot like waiting for
Mhm.
like this random stranger. Yeah, that's me. That's me with Eric. But yeah, always having lots of ideas. Like Eric and I are like, let's start a dog poop pickup business. Like we already do it for our in-laws. Like we do it for our sister-in-law and brother-in-law. We make like
Dude.
$40 a month. We just pick up the dog poop.
Spencer and his friends talked about doing an extermination company for iguanas because they're invasive, which just makes me so sad. They're really invasive and they destroy
Oh.
people's properties, and there's nothing that kills them. So there's like, I'm not kidding you, there's probably like 40 just hanging out on the lawn in the back right now. They love the sun. They just like sunbathe. Anyways, I'll let you go.
This is fun. If you guys like episodes like this, Lydia and I can, I feel like we do a really good job of like catching up, but also having some like deep conversations that people probably want to hear. And maybe it gives someone a permission slip to like have these conversations with their friends or just know that they're not alone.
I agree. I
Yeah,
love
yeah,
that.
love
Well,
that.
thank you everyone for listening to another episode of Visibility Era, the podcast. We'll see you next time.